stablecoins, like just while we're on it, what do you think of these things? I mean, they weren't around when I had the conversations in 13 and 15 and 17 and 19. And
Sure.
And when I saw them, I was like, wow. I got my mom on a hot wallet. She's 78 years old. She lives in San Diego, California. And I sent her some Ethereum. Jordan, I sent her some Chainlink because she gave birth to me, And then I sent her some stablecoin and she said, wow, it's like $1. I said, yeah, Mom, it's a lot like $1. And she was like, that's amazing. One of my students raised her hand the other day, Jordan, on the call, and he said, Brian, I bought some Ethereum, I bought some Bitcoin, I bought some, USDC. I'm making money on the Bitcoin, making money on my Ethereum, but the USDC, it just doesn't move. What's going on here? And so everybody laughed, but it was interesting to highlight how useful something stable can be. What do you think the future are of stable coins? And will the government end up grabbing one?
Well, I think stable coins are a necessity in this world because it's, but interestingly enough, they're stable but pegged to the dollar. I mean, so as stable as the dollar is, they're pegged to that, right? I first noticed the utility of stable coins when I was traveling in Argentina. My wife's Argentinian. It's impossible to do business there in their own currency because of inflation and there's different prices for the currency. It's all manipulated by the government to the point where it makes it unusable. And you can't send people dollars there because the government clips 30% of it. So everyone's using stable coins and it's incredibly effective. It's instant. It's amazing. And I was like, wow, this stuff really, really has an incredible use case. In fact, one of the companies I have a stake in called Monarch, we have a wallet. We have built a decentralized PayPal that uses stable coins to do everything you could do on PayPal, one-time and recurring payments without gas fees and without the requirement of having Ethereum. So we have that technology, and without the stable coins, it wouldn't work. Because how you going to sell give someone Ethereum or Bitcoin, the next day it's up 10% or down 5%. It doesn't work. You need a stable means to make exchanges at scale, small, large. So it solves a great problem. That being said, I am extremely worried that some of these stable coins are not what they say they are. Like they are not actually backed by the assets that they're supposed to be backed for. But then again, I would probably say that's true of most institutions in the U.S. that are centralized, I don't think it's a problem unique to stable coins, but I do think that there's going to be a reckoning here. And I always hated Tether. I thought Tether was a complete scam, and I believe it was. I believe there was a time back in 2017 when it was so fucked up, Tether. I think it was completely off the rails. And I know they paid a fine about that, but I think that was only scratching the surface. I think they're investigating it again right now. Listen, I think probably, I would assume they've gotten their shit together now and they're doing it right. I don't think I think they're probably using assets that are not quite liquid as they're supposed to be to say that they represent a dollar. But I think it's hopefully good enough that it's not going to be a crash where, they have 50 cents on the dollar. Sorry, guys. It's not really stable, right? But the other ones, USDC and USDT, I mean, listen, they're necessary. I have a lot of money in stable coins because it's easy if I don't want to be using, let's say I have a few $1 million that I'm going to be investing around. It's just cheaper to keep them in stable coins. So then I can deploy it as I want without worrying about where it might be at any moment. So I always have some reserve in stable coins that I keep. Lastly, that's completely different than a centralized digital currency of the US or the digital yuan. That's an entirely different thing. It might be able to run on the same rails or something. I don't know if it will or not, but I will tell you that's just not crypto. That's a centralized instrument. Like the dollar is basically digital right now. I mean, you transfer it around. So it's a settlement mechanism is on the blockchain. So, but I think it's really dangerous. Like a centralized government currency, good Lord. They'll take that. They don't like what you say or what you did. Forget them trying to freeze your assets and they'll just want to press a button and your money's gone. Like I would never want to have a digital dollar.
Yeah, we're hearing horror stories of the digital yuan, and it's like that. It's like you get the money, but you can only spend it on this, this, and this as long as you behave like this. And then it's like...
And they know exactly where that gives them full clarity into everything. It's just, that's it,
Yeah, and, we fought hard for, freedom of speech, but if you don't have financial freedom, you don't even have the right for freedom of speech because you got no money. So it is the ultimate way to control the people, and you could argue that's what fiat currency does, and I might ask you about that. I had Jeremy Allaire, the founder of Circle, on the show a couple months ago, and they founded USDC. And it was interesting, Jordan, because he said, look, every time we mint one USDC, we go buy a US Treasury security, not corporate paper, actual Treasury security, and it's held and they audit it and it's the perfect version. He said, look, Tether, it's not that way, but he said some people want it that way. They want a stable coin where the US government doesn't control it or look at it. And then we see these algo stable coins like Terra Luna becoming very popular. Okay, 19, 20% yields. It's algorithmic. It comes more risks to it, but also there's more yields. Even Jeremy said, look, there is a place for algorithmic stable coins, but understand it's not what we do, which is basically to hold the treasury in reserve.
Like OHM, so let's get into more the DeFi. Yeah. Like, listen, if a friend of mine gives me a tip, I'll put $100,000 into almost anything a friend tells me to put it into, like without any research at all, because that's my the flyer money, right? So I lose a lot like that, but I learn and then sometimes I make a fortune on those investments because I have a very good network. But on the tip of a friend who I trusted, I put money into something called OHM, which you probably invested in yourself, I would guess.
I know it.
But then another one called Klima, where I literally put $150,000 and it went from $2,000 to $12, right? Like the biggest scam rug pull joke ever, right? And those are DeFi applications. And especially OHM is supposed to be like an algorithmic stable coin of some sort, right? Which turned out to be like incredibly unstable. So I think there's danger, like you said, there's a place for them, but I consider those very, very high risk. And I wouldn't even look at them the way, stable coins are stable. It's not a semi-stable coin. It's like either it's stable or it's not. You know?
Yeah, and I remember, Cuban got involved with that Iron Finance. And the thing about a stable coin is it's stable until it's not. And then it usually goes to zero. And I always tell my students, just because it says USDC or T, it doesn't mean it's a US dollar. If you have a dollar in your bank account, it's got an FDIC guarantee, right, from the federal government. That's very different than having USDT.
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you another example. There's another application out there called Titano. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I haven't actually.
So it's another one of these flyers I took, right? Except this one, I actually made like 10 times my money on it. It's still going. But again, you never know you just never know when it's at any moment. So you got to go into those things. Like if you put money into those applications, you have to be prepared to lose every single dollar that you put in. You have to be prepared. That's my philosophy.